I recently saw a podcast with Jeff Kaplan, former game director of Overwatch, and his experience working at Blizzard. He mentioned that despite him leaving due to corporate greed, there's still very good and talented people working at Blizzard. This is an extremely conflicting thought because nobody likes to support corporate greed, but we do want to support the people that are making these amazing games. This brought me to a larger question. Do you even care about the companies that your games support? Because the answer may not be as straightforward as you think. Let's start with the easy target. Many of us dislike big corporations and their practices, but these companies are not a faceless mass. Many regular people work on those places, and by lumping them all with their overlords, you will start seeing them as enemies too. They will become complicit in your eyes and become targets. So much so, you will throw hate aim at them. It's a little bit uncomfortable to think about it, but that interview with Jeff Kaplan made me dig a little bit deeper into thinking, yes, there are probably a lot of nerds that work at these game studios. They're passionate about what they create. They just happen to work for a company that makes questionable decisions. It's easy to sit down behind the screen and say, well, if they work there, they're probably at least okay with the decisions the company makes. And at some level, it's probably true, but what would you do? Would you leave your dream job working with passion on what you do, along with leaving comfortable pay and healthcare? Because I'm pretty sure most of you wouldn't. I know I wouldn't. It's easy to dismiss the big bad companies, but remember, there are several talented people that don't deserve the hate, and they just want to create what they love and make a living. I know that I sound like a corporate shill, and maybe that I'm sniffing copium, but I have my struggles with this too, especially when I think about the bad decisions that Blizzard has made in the past.
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah,
But I have a lot of respect for the team that created games like Overwatch. And let's be clear, I'm not saying these corporations get a pass, but from your perspective, you have to separate the creator from the corporation in order to find games that are truly worth your time. Now, let's talk about indie developers, which many of us are quick to trust because we love cheering for the underdog. It's human nature. It makes us feel right. It makes us feel righteous. But these studios hide their insidious secrets too. Some of them will use that goodwill against you, and if you fall for their trap, they'll take your cash and deliver very, very little. A clear example here is Ashes of Creation. This game was positioned as a passion MMORPG that focused on high fantasy with the biggest selling point focused on player agency. They promised deep player participation in two ways. One by creating a world where players' actions could change it permanently, and the other by working directly with the dev team to create in-game assets, if you paid upwards of $2,500. But when the game finally came into early access, backers felt that it wasn't what was promised and demanded refunds. But it was already too late. The Kickstarter terms specified that backers would get a refund if the game didn't launch. Of course, that prompted the studio to push it into early access to avoid the inconvenience of risking the refunds. But shady practices lead to shady results. Not long after the debacle, the studio ended up imploding, and there were major resignations and layoffs as a result. And yes, it feels good when indie studios make a giant hit we can point out to AAA and say, see, they get it. It's a badge of honor, and it feels good to stick it to the man, but you can fall for the underdog's trickery too. I'm not saying to be cynical and think that every indie studio out there is out to get you, but if you really care about who you support, you should be supporting products, not visions. Instead of funding projects that lean hard in the marketing buzzwords that play in your emotions, you can support studios with a strong track record. This will continue to support those studios that create games to your satisfaction and not to just pad their bank account. Now, let's look at a pragmatic approach, the one most of us will follow. Trying to research every single game and studio is impossible, and it's time that most of us don't have. You only have so much time in your day, so It makes sense you make the most out of it without feeling guilty from social pressure. There are certain people out there that refuse to buy games from certain studios or developers, and while that's their prerogative, let's dig a little bit deeper. Yes, we can all disagree on the bad things that game studios do, but do you do that for everything else in your life? Like the clothes you wear, the movies you watch, the food you eat, the places you go. All that has their own decisions baked into them. If you choose to live that way, that's actually admirable, but not all of us can. Video games are meant to be a source to run away from stress, not cause it. That's why some players just kill the author. It's a term in art where you appreciate the product without diving into who made it, because that can alter your perspective of the product itself. In a world with so many things vying for your attention constantly, when you take the pragmatic path, you stay laser focused on your goal to enjoy games in the very limited time that you have, period. There is beauty in that level of simplicity. I want to make something crystal clear. I'm not saying any of these paths are right or wrong on their own, but instead, these points are to empower your choices as a player. There are many companies, big and small, that can and will prey on your emotions and vulnerabilities. These mental frameworks are not meant to give you a dose of copium to justify bad choices, because when you do that, you give away your power of choice to these companies. Do not ever do that. The power of choice should always rest in your hands. And there are some companies that do try to please their players. Valve, for example, is making a new game called Deadlock, and they're taking player feedback seriously. However, they can still make mistakes that can leave their new IP dead in the water. Watch this video to dig deeper on the problems that can sink the next new giant in gaming. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.